So now the thing about the lacustrine plains is that they're formed in areas that were generally like previously occupied by lakes. So when a lake drains out due to like evaporation and that kind of stuff, that sediment remains behind and it kind of creates a lake bed, a dried up lake bed, and it forms a plain. So one nice thing to do with the lacustrine is to maybe just use a texture to represent dried up riverbeds, or I'm sorry, lake beds. And so what I'll do is I already have a series of lakes and kind of rivers that are already right here. And so it's a nice location to maybe add a lacustrine one. It should match in with the already existing lakes that are not drained. So we'll go ahead and remove the title and we'll add this. And what I'll do is I'll just choose a texture. Let me go back into the Parchment World style here. And there's a cool little trick. If you want to use a texture that you already used on this map, and I've showed this before in previous streams, but you can go to this tag right here, and it's called used in this map. And now every single texture that I used will now pop up here. So very helpful. Oh, by the way, hi, first time chatter. Glad that you are here, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take an already existing texture, like maybe this brown right here. I'm going to apply it to the BG just to see what it looks like. I think that color looks fine. I'm going to bring the texture size way down. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to create these dried up lakes. I'm going to create maybe one right here, like this. We'll add maybe another one right here. And we're just going to paint in. Just another first time chatter. Hey, Mega X, glad that you're here. Okay, let's just keep adding this. Oh, we'll be adding in stamps in a little bit, unless I misunderstood the question. Adding more stamps. Another first time chatter. Awesome. Glad. Wow, so many first chatters here. Love it. I'm going to quickly paint in all of these. I might have misunderstood the question, Mega X. My apologies. We mean like when are we releasing the 2.0 stuff? We don't have an exact release date. Somewhere, I think. Hopefully this summer is what we're hoping for. Or are you saying just when are we going to add stamps to this map? And we'll do that probably in the next stream. Hope I understood the questions. Let's add a couple larger ones. Right now we have some really all relatively the same size. Let's just add a much larger one. Okay, there we go. Much, much larger. They're kind of making these kidney bean shapes, but you can have a lake can be all various sizes and shapes. So let me just try to make ones that aren't all this kind of kidney bean shape. So that way it looks more interesting. And what I'll also do is I'll have variations. Like maybe I want to show that the bed is not quite as dried up as other ones. I can simply bring the opacity down and then create another variation of these lakes. And then perhaps this one is not quite as evaporated as the other one. So I can kind of add in the lower opacity. And you see there's quite a few lakes in this area. So very, very nice. When are we going to add 2.0? Hopefully sometime this summer, though we don't know quite yet. We recognize that we hyped it up a little too early, but we just don't want to release it until it's like fully ready. You know, anything bugs and stuff like that. We totally understand frustration people have. I feel that we hyped it up a little too early. I totally understand that frustration. Absolutely understand that sentiment. But we are where we are, and we are hoping to do it sometime this summer. So fingers crossed, because I'm super excited for it too. There's so many wonderful things that are coming with the 2.0 launch. I don't want to hype it up too much since we've been hyping it so much already. But I'm excited for it, and I'm as anxious and excited as you all as well. I totally understand the sentiment. I cannot be upset with anyone for having this feeling of why is it taking so long. I totally get that, okay? So totally reasonable. Let's also go ahead and take a step back here. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to add a grass texture to it, right? So we'll go back into here and we'll add that grass texture. And what I'll do is I'll put it maybe, oh, see, that is cracked ground, my mistake. I believe this is the right one, my mistake. There we go. And then I'm just going to apply the grass. It doesn't have to be directly on top of the lake bed. If you want to show that the lake bed is completely dried up, then maybe apply some of that grass texture right on top of that bed as well. That's fine. So I'll just go ahead and kind of add a little bit of grass in here. I cannot stress to you how important grass the alpha grass texture is. If you wanted to add a little bit more color to the map, you could also apply like a green texture, especially near bodies of water. Life really flourishes. So I'll go ahead and take a green texture like this and kind of apply it to the, let me go up a layer here. Apply this green texture all along where that river is, and I'll kind of apply it a little bit here as well, and that will kind of give it a little bit of extra green. And then of course I can go back over it with the alpha texture there. There we go. So that way it doesn't all look exactly the same. Add some differences to it. There we go. I think that looks good. Let's go and take a step back and just see what it looks like. I like that. Great one. I had mentioned earlier why artistically a plane is so important. It's because of the negative space. So if I take a step back from the map, you'll notice that real quickly, just to define my terms so you're not confused, when I say negative space, I mean a space that doesn't have a lot of stamps. For instance, right here, this alluvial spot right here, notice how there's just no stamps in this spot. That is what I mean by negative space. What makes a plane so nice is that if you want like a point of interest, like maybe a city or maybe some kind of building or a structure, stuff like that, it really, really pops out in a plane. So like this, consider this stamp right here. See how this stamp pops out because there's a negative space around it? There's not a lot of stamps to contrast against it. So, or that kind of removes that contrast. So planes are super important visually because you can do some really cool points of interest and locations inside of the plane that's going to contrast against the negative space, and it's really going to make that pop out. So artistically, a plane is also super cool. Use a plane to your advantage to throw in maybe a world tree, maybe throw in a large capital city. Maybe you want to put some interesting smaller biome inside of a plane biome, and that biome will really pop out because of that negative space surrounding it. So artistically, a plane is super cool for when you want to add these points of interest that really, really pop out. So super important. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. It's called a scroll plane. Yes, and they also help to make the surrounding biomes pop out too. Absolutely, Tang Whistle. Absolutely, 100%. So glad you said that. Negative space helps to make the positive space pop out. It's a very common concept in art, contrasts. One thing contrasts against another, causing it to pop out. We talked about that with shadows, with depth. It's the same concept as well with your biomes, right? A negative spaced biome is going to help to contrast against a biome that has a lot of positive space, meaning a lot of stamps, a lot of textures and stuff like that. So super important. That's why I really, really like those. So let's go into that next one. Let me check for time. Plenty of time. We've already done so many. This is great. Let's go to a scroll plane. So these